Hey, fifth grade. So we're going to start off with a little review before I send you into an assessment for this lesson. So again, our purpose for this lesson is to be able to identify the author's purpose by determining important details and explaining the author's purpose and central idea. So let's go ahead and get started. So why did the author write this text? Let's do a quick review of strategies you can use to determine an author's purpose for writing a text. In elementary school, you were taught to consider if an author wrote a text to inform the reader about a topic, to persuade or change minds and behavior about a topic, or to entertain. That thinking can still help you, but since the text you read now will be more complex and the author may have made choices within a text to do all three of these things, you need to think about why the author mostly wrote the whole text. Let's review a few strategies that will help you determine the author's purpose for writing a text. First and foremost, examine the title. Why? The title gives us the topic of the text and sometimes even the central idea of the whole text. Since the central ideas of a text are connected to the author's purpose, since the central ideas are what an author most wants us to know, we can use the title to predict the author's purpose right away. So for this text, since I see the words why everything is closing for the coronavirus and help, it's called flattening the curve, I'm thinking this text will definitely inform me about stopping the spread of the coronavirus. And it says it right in the title. But I'm also wondering if it might also attempt to persuade me to change my behavior so I can also help with flattening the curve. I don't think the author wrote this to entertain the reader. Informational texts always give information about something. Did you see how I examined the title to look for hints about whether the text would inform, persuade, or entertain me? That's a great starting point, but we need to think more carefully about the central ideas and look at the text to decide if this is the correct purpose. After we study the title and make a prediction about the author's purpose, we should return to the subheadings since they hint at the central ideas for each section. When I review the subheadings, I'm thinking, is the author explaining, emphasizing, or persuading the reader with the central ideas in this section? The first subheading, Prevent Overburdening the Healthcare System, reminds me that this section explained that businesses are closing to stop the spread of the virus because our healthcare systems can't handle it. That's also connected to the second section, which explained that we are beyond containment of the virus, which shows me why businesses are closing. Neither of these so far really persuaded me to change my behavior. The only section where I thought there was some persuasion was in the last paragraph, where the author was trying to persuade me to stay at home to stop the spread of the coronavirus, and we'll get into that a little bit later. Okay, so a review of the subheadings and their central ideas changed my thinking a little bit about the purpose of the whole text because most of the sections explained and described. They didn't persuade. A final strategy is to review the first and last paragraphs, but often the author starts and or finishes their text by stating their purposes. I want you to take a few seconds and you can pause this video to read the first paragraphs and think, is the author explaining and informing or emphasizing and persuading? Well, as you can see in these first two paragraphs of the text, the author provides me information about COVID-19 and explains it that it's the cause for all of the closures. And in the last paragraph, it's encouraging that people need to do their part and stay inside. We just used 3 strategies to determine the author's purpose. Examine the titles, review the central ideas from the subheadings, and reread the first and last paragraphs. Do these features show us the author mostly meant to inform us about flattening the curve, or persuade us? Since most of the sections informed us about stopping the virus or flattening the curve, I'm thinking the author mostly wrote the text to inform us. Let's take a look at this question from your exit ticket. Take a minute to reread all 4 answer choices. If you need to pause the video, go ahead. Most students were conflicted between A and B. Let's first read D. What's missing from this choice? It states, explain how people need to stay home to prevent overburdening the healthcare system. Well, this answer is missing a lot of information and only speaks to one section of the text. Now let's take a look at answer choice C. It states, describe how schools and businesses closing can stop the spread of the coronavirus. Well, the author does describe why businesses are closing, but there is other information left out of this answer choice as well. We're now stuck between A and B. Well, the answer choice is B, and the reason why it's not A, which many of you chose, although the author mostly wanted to give us information about containing the virus, this answer leaves out the first 3 sections of the text. Therefore, B, the author mostly wrote this text to inform the reader about what it means to flatten the curve. So students, since today is your assessment, I want you to read these out loud now. When determining the author's purpose, examine the title, review the subheadings, and think what central ideas the author most want us to know. Check the first and last paragraphs to determine the author mostly wanted to